evening, guys. Welcome back to another episode of our data analysis series for phase 1. Yes, today we'll be looking at a brief explanation to the assignment given on star 315 for the benefit of those who are currently offering star 315, which is statistical computing tree. And if you are not offering it as well, you can also follow up in this video. You will learn something because we'll be dealing with R in this series. We'll be dealing with R for how is it called, for graphic, for data visualizations. And so you can also try to follow the video and grab some of the basic concepts in R. Okay, so at first let me just quickly explain this. Like as it is, we have R. Once you have R installed on your PC, okay, you need an IDE, that is environment development, an IDE, an integrated development environment, which you will use for your coding. You need it for your R, and one of the IDE for coding R is R Studio, and that is considered to be the best. Yes, so you can use R directly to code, and you can also use R Studio for a nice user interface like what we have here. So it's divided into 4 columns. The first column is the source code area, where you can write your source code and also execute your code. Then the second column down here is the R console. This is a console column. Here you can write a command and it will work. And also when you have your code from the source code and you try to run it, it's going to display the results here for you. Yes, like when you run when the code is being run is from the console actually. But the benefit of source code area is that it enables you to save your source code directly to your PC. So you can open it at any time and edit it when a modification is needed. But when you run your code directly from the R console column here, you don't have access to the copy of the source code. That is just the difference between them. If not, the same code you are writing in the source code area, you can write it in the console here directly and run it and get your results. Okay, we have the third column, which contains the environment, the history, connection, tutorial, and whatever according to the type we have there. So one of the major things we'll be using from here is the environment, and as it is now, the environment is empty. Yes, now it will show you each of the function you created. Like when you create a variable with a function in it, or when you just create a variable and you assign value to the variable, it will show here. Like as it is your it's the global environment, and it shows the variable that are being created in this place. Yes, so that is how it works. And here on the fourth one, which is the last one, we have the file, the plot, the package, and whatever. Like under file here, you can navigate to show you the working directory of your file, so you can see some folder from there. Like when you want to open something or stuffs like that, you can do it from here if you don't want to use the other way. And we have the plot, which is one of the major reason we have this place, the plot area. Any plot we did, like when we're trying to visualize our data, so when we get the visual, this is where it's going to display for us under this plot section. Then we have the package, when you can install some R libraries into your PC once you have R Studio installed on your PC like this. Yes, then we have the help center, we have the viewer, and the presentation and the like. But what we really need for this particular area is the plot. So that is just a quick overview to our interface. So let's move into the business of the day. A question was given with some value of groundnut yield, and our project is to create a frequency table, plot a histogram, and also a bar chart for that particular data set that was given to us. So at first you need to load the data the way you have it on your manual. So we need to create a variable that will carry the data. So at first we're going to create a variable which will carry the data. So we need to create the variable to hold the data, like as we said. So I'm going to call this forgive me, I'll call it data set. Yeah, I think I find the best for it. So next we are to give the variable a name. So I'm going to give this variable a name of granules. Okay, just like this. So we need to equate it and assign the value to it. Since we have many number in it, we have up to 4 different different numbers of granules yield inside this particular variable. So we're going to concatenate it using the C. Then we open the bracket and place the values. Okay, these are the values. I have it on my keyboard, so I just drop them. These are the values we have on the manual. So now we have created the variable. All we need to do is to run it. So Control Enter if you are running from here, but if you are directly on the console, you can write your code on the console. You can just hit enter and it will run. And if you are here, you can use the Control Enter or the R, I mean the run option here to run your code. So I'm going to use Control Enter, and that is all. This has been run. As you can see, you have it on the console here, and we have the variable being labeled here. It shows us that the number of observation is 1 to 40. Yeah, we have 40 observation in it. So the next thing now is to answer the other question, that's the first question that says we should create a frequency table. Yes, you can create a frequency table in 2 ways. That is using interval or without using interval. Okay, let's say we want to use interval. We can use a break option to create an interval. So we're going to say break. So for these breaks, we are going to use a function of a sequence function in it. Sorry, my bad. So we're going to use a sequence function in it. So we open our bracket. So the first thing to do is to specify the lower range. Yeah, the lower range of the data according to this data set is 500. Actually, there's nothing less than 500. So then the data is not more than 800. So the upper range should be 800. Then we do comma again. Now what is the space that we want to be between this, because I want this to be unique and also like automated in its own way. So we're going to add it like from 500. We need to what is the space we want to have between 500 down till we reach 800. Okay, let me specify something like 50. So the difference should be by 50. So difference equal to 50. Yeah, this is just what we need here. So we can hit enter, and also we have create a break there. Now if you don't want to create a break, you can move straightly and plot your and do the frequency to get the frequency table, but I want it to be arranged, like to be grouped in interval. That is why I use the break. All right, so the next thing to do now is to plot the is to get the frequency table. Yes, so that's our next move, getting the frequency table. So in getting the frequency table, I would like to create a variable name for our frequency table as well. So this is what we are going to do. I'm going to call this frequency underscore t. Yeah, frequency underscore t, meaning frequency table. You can call it any name you want to give to a variable, just a variable name. So the next thing is to write the function that we'll use in getting a frequency table, which is using the table function in this. For this, we'll be using the table function. Yes, because the table function will calculate the frequency and give us the result of the frequency. So I'm going to do table. So we'll open the brackets, and inside this table, since we are using an interval that we have already created break, I'm going to cut it into it. So we'll use the cut option. So open the parentheses. So inside the parentheses now we can now pass the name of the variable that carries the data, which is granules. So we have passed the variable name, and the next step is to pass in the variable, the break variable, the variable that carries the break. So we're going to say comma equal to the comma breaks equals break. Based on the breaks that we have created for it, that is what it's going to use for us. So we can use Control Enter, and I think we should not have any problem if we do that. Yes, as you can see, our frequency table has also been run. So the next thing to do now is to just get the result of the frequency table, which you can get by typing the variable name, which is freq underscore t, and hit the enter key. And as you can see here, we have the frequency for this particular data. As you can see, we have it on interval of 500 to 550, we have 550 to 600, and it has count all the number that fall within this range for us. So that is getting your frequency table. Okay, but what if you want to get your frequency table directly without using the break? You can do something like this. So instead of using the break, I can decide to use the frequency option for it. I can decide to use the table option for the frequency. So I can use table, then open the parentheses, then I'll pass the name of the variable, which is granite. Enter. And as you can see here, we still have the same we have the frequency for the data, but this one is not grouped, it's not categorized on interval. As you can see, it will show for each number that are unique, it will count them as one that they repeated one time in this data set and in this variable. And for the one that appear more than one time, like where we have this 627 that appear 2 times, it will count the frequency to be 2, and where we have 636 to be 636 to be to appear 6 times, it will count it. But for the rest, you can see it's counting 1 and stuff like that. So this is why I prefer using the interval to get it grouped. So this is the two way you can do it. Okay, you can use directly without grouping it, and you can use the group. It's all left for your own decision. Okay, that is for that part. So the next part is plotting the we have gotten the frequency table. So the next part is plotting the histogram. So in plotting the histogram, I'm going to plot the histogram using the histogram function, and the histogram function in Excel is and the histogram function in R is hist, that is HIST, like this. This is the function. So we open the parentheses. So inside the parentheses, we are to declare our variable which we want to plot. So in this case, we have just one variable that we want to plot, and we want to plot it against the frequency, and the frequency will create a break for the frequency. So at first, we are getting our variable which is granite. So we got it, comma, then we are doing this based on the break we created. So breaks equal breaks. Yes. And the next thing we can do is by giving this a color. If we want to give it a color, we can do comma and do col. Col is for color, so it will be equal to, into double quotation, you can put any color of your choice. Like for instance, I would like to use maybe like blue, so I will just type blue, which is the color I want to use. And we can still do a lot of things like giving this a label. Okay, we can give it a label, but first let's run this, then I'll come back for the other ones. So control enter, and that is all. As you can see, voila, we have the graph being plotted on the plot column for us. You can see it here. If we want to make this big, we can click on the zoom option. As you can see, we have the zoom window pop up, and we can see this. You can see this has been plotted based on the interval, and we have the frequency count here. You know, the lowest frequency there is 0, which we don't have actually, and the highest frequency there is 12. Yes, so based on our count, most of the lowest frequency is 2, and as you can see, we have it here being captured. So next thing to do is to give this to give it a proper title, to give this chart a proper title, and also give it this, we can change the label of the axis of the x axis and also the y axis. For the y axis is already okay frequency, that is what we need there, and for here is granite or granite yield, based on how you want to label it. So it's all depends on you. So if I want to do the direct label based on our own test, like when we have histogram of granite, I can change to a histogram of granite yield, or of yield granite, stuff like that. So if we want to do that, we use the main, which is for the function of the main title. So in double quotation, we are going to type the string value we are using, which is I said histogram of yield granite. My bad. So that is it. The main will be changed. So we also need to label the x-axis as well. So after the main, we're going to do comma, and we'll go to our x-lab. In labeling the x-axis, you use the x-lab. So this is going to be equal to this is going to be equal to, or permit me to break this down so that you can see it well. So this is going to be equal to the name we want to give it, which is yield. Maybe I want to call it just yield. We know it's yield granite. Maybe I'll call it yield G. So for the y axis is already frequency, but if you still want to do the formality, you can use the y lab, which is the function used in labeling the y axis, where I can say frequency, and that is it. And this has to be in double quotation place. Yep. So if we run it again, then this should change. As you can see, change based on the label we specify. As you can see, we have this now showing histogram of yield granules. Then we have here showing yield G, and we have the frequency here. So that is for the histogram. Okay, the next thing to do is to plot the bar chart for this particular same data. Now, in plotting a bar chart for this particular data, we can use the bar chart option to plot it. Okay, in using the bar chart option to plot it, all we need to do is to use the function that says bar plot. Yeah, my bad. Bar plot. Then we open the parentheses. So inside the parentheses, all we need to, the first thing to do is to specify our frequency table. You know, we created the frequency table here, so we're going to pass the frequency table into the function for the bar chart. So I'm going to point it here, the frequency table we created here. So we're going to call the variable freq t, so freq underscore t, then we put comma. So the next thing to do is to give it like color and do your label and all that. So I will just give it only color. Since I'll show you how to label, I will not label it again. So I'm going to give this light blue. Remember, it must be in double quotation. So I'm going to give this light blue. Yep, and that is it. So we can do Control Enter to run this, and as you can see, we have our bar chart being plotted here. So you can also label this as well to give it the main title, give it the x-axis label, and also the y-axis label. You can do all that using the main option, the xlab function, and also the ylab function to label all this. To label this as frequency, label this as a class mark, and also label this as the main title, like the bar charts for the granite yield, something like that. So that is how it works with that, and that is just a brief solution to the first part of the assignment. So let's quickly move into the second part of the assignment, which is talking about the creation of pie chart to label to create a pie chart of different colors, which was given in the second part of the assignment. So the first thing to do is to load the variable for the color and the frequency, which was given in the manual. So at first we are going to create a variable for the color and also a frequency for the color. So we're going to create a variable of color, so we'll name it color, and we'll initialize it to the value given for the colors. The first value given for the color there is white. So yep, it's white, which is the name of the color. And remember, we have more than one, which means we have to concatenate it. So we are going to concatenate it, and since we are dealing with string, everything must be in between a double quotation. So the next color we have is the red color, so it must be in double quote as well. Then after that we have yellow, and finally pink. So the last one is pink. So that's it. We have the variable for the color. So we can run this using Control Enter, and we can see it on our global environment here for the color. We have the colored. So the next thing for the pie chart is the frequency, and we have to label the frequency. We have to create the frequency variable for all the frequency given to us. So we're going to create a frequency variable, so using the name frequency, and we are to concatenate it because we have more than one frequency. So the frequency is going to be equal to C for concatenation, then we open the bracket, and the first thing is the frequency for the white. So the frequency for the white given in the manual is 12. Now we are dealing with numbers, so no need for double quotation, we can just separate it with comma and go. So for red the frequency is 7, so comma. For yellow the frequency is 19, comma, and for pink the frequency is 12. So we are done with the frequency as well, so we can run this code as well, and we can find it in our global environment that we have created the frequency, and these are the value in the frequency. So the next thing to do is to plot the pie chart which was requested, and we can plot the pie chart using the pie function in R. Yes, you can plot it using the pie function. So all we need to do is to type pi, like yes, as it is, that is the function. So we can type pi, open the parentheses. Now in the parentheses, the first thing we need to pass here is the frequency, and also we also need to pass the label for the frequency. So this is what we are going to do. So for our x, which is the frequency, we are going to pass the name we declare in the variable, which is frequency. So frequency, comma. Now for the label, our label is going to be equal to the color variable, because the color variable carries the name of the color, which means it will automatically list itself as white, red, yellow, pink. So we can just go with it like that and say color, yep, we have that variable. So the next thing is to give it a title. Like as I said earlier, you can use the main function to give the main function to give the main title of your visualization. So we're going to use the main, and this one is pie chart for colors. So we're going to say pie chart for color. Yeah. So the next thing we need is to do the other labeling. Like we can do the label for, if we want, actually, though we don't really need it. What we need now is to give it color. So we want each of the parts that represent the portion of the portion of the cycle given to that particular color should be colored in the same color, separate from other colors. So that's the next thing to do. So we're going to use the color option, which is COL. So it will be equal to, allow me to break this to the next line so that we can get a clearer view of it. So the color option is going to be equal to, and we'll list the color in accordance to how we have the color in the series of the question. So white first, then red, yellow, and pink will come last. So at first, since we are listing more than one, we have to concatenate it, and in concatenation we use C. So C, open parenthesis. So inside the parenthesis, the first thing we need is the white color. So in a double quotation, white. So comma, another double quotation, the next thing we need is red, comma, another double quotation, we need yellow, comma, and the last one, let's open the quotation, and what we need here is pink. So I guess by this we are done with it. So let's run it, and that is it. As you can see here from the plot area, we have the visual for the pie chart of the given column, and this is the last part of that particular assignment. So here we have the pie chart, and it's working based on our label. This is the main title we'll give it, pie chart for colors. And as you can see here, each of the axes is labeled with their color.